Information technology, IT, support has really evolved quite a bit since the 90s. Let's face it, all of us need to be focusing on our core business, so you end up, when you're typically a small to mid-sized business, you end up outsourcing some of your IT support services. Back in the 90s, there was this group growing called the Application Service Providers, ASPs, where they would provide you services based on certain functions of your IT support services that you needed. And then you still needed the on-site capability. However, now we have MSPs, managed service providers, that really touch a whole wide variety of areas, but they are the ones who are able to remotely manage your own IT infrastructure while you focus on your core business and provide you almost a one-stop shop for all your technology needs. So what types of areas do MSPs touch? Well, let's take a look at it. There's a huge list now, and actually there's an alphabet soup of acronyms that you can have, like MSSP, which is Managed Security Service Provider. So they include things like network and infrastructure, security, support services, print services, cloud infrastructure, software as a service, which we've been hearing a lot, called SaaS, wireless and mobile computing, data analytics, and on goes the list. Lately, there's kind of a synonym that's occurring as well between cloud service provider, CSP, and MSP, because really a lot of our services for IT infrastructure support are moving to the cloud. And a prime example of that are just right from your collaboration file and email support services with Microsoft Office 365 or the Google suite of applications, which normally you would have had to have your own servers on site to provide those services, but now these services are provided on the cloud remotely. And so really, the only thing that you're relying on right now, besides having working devices such as your phone, your desktops and whatnot, is your network infrastructure and your internet connection. So now your internet connection is even more important and critical to your network infrastructure if you are relying on online cloud services. MSPs rely heavily on remote management and monitoring software, RMM. And these are tools that are provided to them in order to be able to remotely log into your desktop, remotely be able to look at different software or patches, software updates that are on your systems, or be proactively alerted and monitor issues with your organization, cybersecurity, if there's some issues or concerns that have come forward, or other problems, or if a service has dropped offline, they are able to react much more quickly and without the need to go and drive out to your organization physically. They can go and log into a remote desktop when a user on your network has a problem with their desktop or their mobile device or their laptop or whatever it is that they're using to access these services. Some of the factors, qualities if you want to call it, of MSPs that you should consider when you're evaluating who to deal with in order to provide support for your IT infrastructure are things like their responsiveness. And sometimes this falls under something called SLA, Service Level Agreement, which is how quickly do they respond? Is it next business day, NBD? Or is it within 2 hours? Is it within 2 days? I don't know, but generally these tiers of pricing are what you're going to pay for, is how quickly they respond. Other things are security or backup recovery options, or other options such as being a one-shop stop for your technology needs. There may be one thing that's for sure is that pure MSPs are quite rare. Generally, they provide many other services in order to round out the IT information technology services that they provide to organizations, such as being able to procure new laptops or devices for you, or handling your mobile stuff, not just managing your online services that you have on the cloud. The other thing is data accessibility. So for a lot of organizations, you really want to make sure that your data doesn't just exist in one single location, that you have multiple copies of your data online. I'm a very big, firm believer of backup, because really, your data is everything. It's very easy when you're in the cloud to switch between services, to add and remove changes and whatnot, but your data is key to make sure that you have data integrity, data accessibility, and data confidentiality. There are many different pricing models that are involved in MSPs. A very common one is no longer being providing IT services on a per project basis, which are kind of one time. Now they focus more on a flat rate. So it's per device or per user. And this is great for organizations in order to better manage their cash flow. It's great. Accountants love it because they know exactly what the IT expenses are going to be each month. And then you have things that could be like typically in additional projects. So MSPs might have, if you're doing new computer deployments or new devices, those would be added costs. But the monthly costs that are incurred in order to support your organization are definitely negotiated on some kind of SLA basis, service level agreement, and what tier you're going to fit in. What kind of response are you expecting? Are you expecting a next business day response, or are you expecting a response within 2 hours? The other thing is, if you look at it from the perspective of an MSP, their biggest costs are going to be their RMM software, the remote management and monitoring software, and whatever other software that they need to provide the solution. Some MSPs bundle in the software subscriptions, say Microsoft Office 365 licenses, into the monthly fee, so you pay one fixed per user fee every month. And some of them only charge for their actual services. So it depends on what kind of level of arrangement that you agree with them when you're negotiating. And then the other thing are some projects. So project work could be things like break fix. So if something's broken, like on hardware, whatever, and you need to get it repaired, might not be covered under your MSP SLA. Some different projects. If you have a migration project or a new backup project or a new service that you want to have available to your staff for team collaboration or file sharing, or a portal that is used for your customers on a B2B or B2C basis. So these are some things that you take into consideration when you're evaluating what your cost may be. But the beauty of negotiating with an MSP is that, as I was indicating, their biggest cost would be their software, but it's more importantly, it's their labor. So they're going to figure out how much time do they need to spend on your account, your organization, to provide IT support services. And this is a win-win, because let's face it, MSPs are really geared to SMBs, small to mid-sized business industry. Small to mid-sized businesses typically don't have their own direct full-time IT support staff. And so therefore, this is a way to outsource your IT requirements. However, that's not to say that large enterprises don't also use MSPs. They will use them to do IT staff augmentation. Maybe there's certain specialized areas such as security or other cloud services or portals such as SharePoint that they want to have access to, and it's better to have that specialized IT knowledge outsourced to an MSP than it is to go and have that expensive knowledge in-house. So take that into consideration when you're negotiating with an MSP as to what level of contract, what you're paying for, and what type of services you're needed in order to figure out what makes sense for your organization. Because it's very difficult to compare apples to apples in the MSP space, because everybody is offering different things. And as I indicated, there aren't too many pure MSPs out there. Most of them are a one-stop shop.